Good morning, my lovely peaches. How are you? Happy Tuesday. I have a ton of work to do for my clients, but I just wanted to make this quick video. Again, I want to say major shout out and thanks to Mentor Lawyer Deep Dive True Crime. I just recorded a few more minutes because I was watching and it's like, it's so juicy, it's so good, I had to include it. So the full video is on his channel. I will link it in the description below. It is 2 hours and 35 minutes that he compiled of extremely juicy and interesting interviews and testimony. So this is the video where I got some clips, the two most insightful witnesses during the Dan Markel murder investigation by Deep Dive True Crime. Thank you again. Last night I was watching a wonderful video that he put out about Jeff Lacasse and Tamara Demko, two of the most amazing witnesses in the Wendi Adelson, hopefully, trial case to be. So there was two clips that were very relevant that I just pulled out and I'm going to share them. The first clip is Jeffrey on the stand at the Katie McBanoa trial, and this is a point where he mentions that they were driving from Tallahassee to Miami. He says Wendi had a rental car and she drove. Okay, the reason I'm pointing that out is because I was curious. So these bits that I pulled out, I wanted to share specifically to show Wendi did drive all the way. They had a rental car and he said she drove from Tallahassee to Miami. She knew how to do it. There she was in the car with him. She could have asked him to drive if she didn't feel comfortable, but she didn't. Then he's asked on the stand by Katie McBanoa's lawyer, is it true that her parents always came to get her? And he said, well, that's what she said, but she was a liar. Also, she liked to travel quite a bit. And then he said that same trip where she drove the rental car, she drove them in the rental car from Tallahassee down to Miami. She also drove the 45 minutes from wherever they first were down to Fort Lauderdale to meet Charlie to go to, it was at the restaurant, and then she drove the 45 minutes from the restaurant to Charlie's house. Again, as somebody who really doesn't like to drive, 45 minutes drive is like, to me, that's far. And I wouldn't want to do it. And if I was in a car with somebody else who could drive, and I trusted them, I would say, do you mind driving? Especially a 7-hour. I would at least share the driving, but I would certainly not want to drive 7 hours by myself, or even 45 minutes if somebody else is there and they can drive. Catherine McBanoa's lawyer says it's a 7-hour trip, it's treacherous. But then she says it's just flat. I don't think that's very treacherous, just flat. Like, I lived in Topanga Canyon and that was treacherous. That was terrifying. Going home was treacherous, terrifying. Parking my car was treacherous. The street I lived in was this, like a mountain that also went like this. So every part of the street was curved away from, it was terrifying. I absolutely hated living there. It was a nightmare, okay? My parents also, for a few years, lived up in buttfuck nowhere. And that shit was treacherous, okay? So I get, like, treacherous. I'm just saying, here there's just a little bit of evidence. She drove. When she had an opportunity for somebody else to drive, she drove. So she was capable and willing.
To be seeing you guys having dinner.
No, sure.
You leave that restaurant and then you all go collectively to get some ice cream.
Yeah,
Yogurt.
I don't have real clear memories of that, but we walked to a yogurt place, and that wasn't very long, and then we headed to Charlie's house.
Now, how did you guys get to Charlie's house? Were you and Wendy in the car by yourself?
Wendy had driven a rental down from Tallahassee, and she was driving.
So Charles got into his own vehicle and drove and met you back at the house?
Yes.
Okay. And so you and his house is in Fort Lauderdale, correct?
Yeah, he's on Well Harbor, that's right.
So it would be at least a 14-minute drive, 45 minutes, if you can remember. It's not a quick 10-minute drive.
It wasn't like 5-10 minutes. It was a ways.
Okay, and then so you go up to the house and you and Wendy go inside, right?
That's right.
Now, Catherine doesn't want to take it.
Like, you're telling me this girl doesn't know how to go down Centerville Road to Benton Road to Thomasville to ABC Liquor? She's got to go through Trescott to go past her ex-husband's house and add an extra a mile and a half or whatever on her route. But yet she's capable of scheming and plotting and doing all this. No, I don't believe it. And even me, who I don't like to drive and I don't really like hyper know the names of streets and where things are unless it's my immediate like walking. I even know how to tell you how to get to the damn place because I looked it up. You go down Centerville Road, you make a right at Benton at the light, then at the light at Thomasville Road, there it is, catty corner diagonal. You turn and you go right into the parking lot. Yeah, that's how easy it is to figure out how to get there. And I've never even been there. But I saw it on Google Maps. You can go look back on my video. I'll link it over here. Or I think it goes over here. Okay. Yet what I find to be actually truly absurd is the idea that a woman would skip a shower so she could drive to a liquor store that is 25 minutes out of her way. In the police interviews, she says that she left her house at 12:15, lunch was at 1. And on the stand, I think Georgia said you left at like 12:30. So you have lunch 10 minutes away, and there's a liquor store in that same place where you take lunch every Friday about. So you've got to know there's a liquor store there. It's literally where you need to go. So you could even get the bottle after lunch so you're not late at all, or maybe get it beforehand. But instead you choose to drive 25 minutes away, 25 minutes away from where you live, and like 15 minutes away from where you need to be for lunch, so you can drive by your ex-husband's house, which just happens to coincide with the crime scene, and your alibi or your excuse is that you don't know how to go any other way, but yet you do know how to drive from Tallahassee to Miami. Jeff Lacasse says you did it with him in the car. And then you drove from wherever you were in Miami to Fort Lauderdale, 45 minutes. Again, you drove. So you do know. No. Then the next part, Tamara Demko, the reason I wanted to pull out that, specifically what I was pulling out was the part where she says her family was very involved in keeping it secret when she got divorced and she moved all that stuff out of the house while Danny was away on a vacation. Like I said, all of that takes a lot of malicious, secretive, concealed planning to pull off something that thorough. To divorce your husband and move out while he's away at a conference and everything else she did, I 100% believe she's guilty and she's going down. I just think it's a matter of time. That's why I always say, Wendy, Adelson arrest watch. So then this part with Tamara, she's talking about how her family, my hair, sorry, I'm getting crazy. She talks about how the family was in on keeping everything secret from Danny and how they devastated this poor man. And then I just let a little bit more of what Tamara was saying continue, because it's quite juicy and interesting. And when you piece it all together, wow. Just imagine what we're going to find out when Wendy finally gets arrested and Tamara and Jeffrey are testifying, and all the other people. I want to know about this Stock the Bar Party couple. I want to see them on the stand. I want her other friends on the stand. Tamara was talking about somebody she was calling Janine, who's being very protective, and I'm wondering if that's who, if it was Jane, because she said she was, with her at the police station. So, but she also said she'd never met her before, and she never even heard of her. So it's possible she heard Janine, or maybe Jane is short for something. I don't know, but highly recommend go subscribe to Deep Dive True Crime Mentor Lawyer and watch that video in full. But enjoy these clips. See you later. Bye.
Team, but it became a hard line. They would call it, you're either Team Danny or Team Wendy.
Yeah.
And they would actively refer to this. Danny
People that are associated with all.
And Danny himself and Wendy herself. They would say Team Danny, Team Wendy.
Okay.
It was kind of unnerving, actually. And I was like, I don't want to pick a team. I've become friends with her, too. But he was a wreck. And she didn't want to live in Tallahassee. She hated being here. She was a more of a DC girl or Miami, and I found out over time that she actually grew up several blocks over from me in Coral Springs, which is where I moved to when I was 12. She was a few years younger, so I never really met her in high school or anything like that. But her parents still lived there at the time. I think they've since relocated, I don't know. But I went and met her family there. When they were married, I saw them both there when they were first having their babies and such. And so I'd go and visit them, whether it was here or whether it was down there. When she left, it was a family effort. Like, parents came up, helped her move, helped conceal everything, get that going. Danny was like beside himself. When she didn't want to move, when she wanted to move, he tried to make it so that she couldn't. And this began a really ugly portion of the legal battle.
Move where?
She wanted to move back to South Florida to be closer to her parents.
After the divorce?
Yes.
Okay.
And he said, I love my kids too much, knowing how I'm going to fight you. And he was able to get an injunction so she couldn't move. So she was stuck here. She was also under consideration for a professor track at FSU College of Law. And starting at some point, I don't even remember when, it's been 3 years or so, I guest lecture for her in her class every semester. I just did a few weeks ago, which I'll come back to. Please remind me to come back to that because she said some things to me.
Okay.
The legal battle was very ugly. She felt trapped. I started trying to not talk to both of them about the legal stuff because I felt kind of caught in the middle. And she thought, there's no way they can force me to stay here. And he's like, there's no way I'm not going to have access to my kids. She was getting a hefty sum of money from him. There were some things that he was, even last month, was upset about. She had his uncle's ring, something along those lines, that she had taken, and it was like a family heirloom that she wouldn't give back. And she had taken whatever she wanted out of the house at the time.
Because he was out of town. Is that what I understood?
So he had to refurnish, and he's like, I spent $10,000 refurnishing this place, and it was a big adjustment, and he didn't know what he had done wrong. Having talked to Wendy, there was nothing he could do right. and she just didn't love him.
Okay.
And it was not something I could say to him. Over time, I've tried to get there, but she just didn't love him that way. And I think she was young, and he was a scholar and the type of guy that her parents would want, and I think she even knew as she was getting married that it wasn't right.
That's what you referred to earlier about her having cold feet.
Yes, she had cold feet. We went for a walk within a month before her wedding, and we went to McClay and walked around, and she's just like, I don't know if I can marry him. And I was like, well, if you don't know, then you shouldn't. And still did. So I think the kids kept them occupied for a little while. But
Well, at the same time, I think that they were married in 2006, I believe.
Sounds right.
And
All right, so it's after 1 a.m. I have some hair food in my hair. It's kind of greasy. So there was this bar mitzvah for Wendy's son. I guess it was like a couple days ago, and then somebody had posted it, or I guess the synagogue had posted it. It was online. She was in this red dress. There was a few clips. It was really creepy and kind of weird. And then apparently it's been like pulled off the internet and I couldn't find it, but I did find a couple of people who had a couple of clips of it. So I tried to screen record that. And then I also was kind of curious, like, did Wendy really have blue eyes and she just used contacts to enhance them? Or did she have brown eyes? Ugh, it's so dark. You can't really see me, but I'm so tired. Did she really have brown eyes and she had fake blue contacts? Of course, you can do whatever you want to do. It's just like really weird to me to like have fake blue eyes and then tell people that you got complimented on your eyes when bitch you bought those fake blue eyes. But anyway, so I screenshotted a couple of pictures of her to throw up, vomit, and right here at this table. And then so let's ask Google, what should I wear to a bar mitzvah? And of course they're going to tell us we should be conservative and not wear flashy stuff, which makes sense, especially if you're the mother of the bar mitzvah. But look, there's a red dress. Although, as I'll say later, I think a red dress for a bar mitzvah is kind of trendy. Wendy. But if you're like 13, that seems to be the consensus of my brief Google search. If you look up, should I wear red? What? I can't read what I wrote, but... And, they say no, wearing red is too flashy. But looking on TikTok and stuff, which you'll see in a moment, it seems like the teenagers these days think it's all the rage and super cute and hot to wear a red dress to a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. And I think that's appropriate if you're a teenager. And now we see on TikTok some cute young girls whose faces I blocked out wearing red dresses to a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah. And I want to be you. Because aren't they the cutest? Another one that is quite cute, actually. I think there's no doubt that if you're more devout, you're not going to want to wear something like this. But Wendy not being devout was part of why they got divorced. Here's another one. You think Wendy just wishes that she was young or younger? She could go back and start all over and do it again and not marry Dan. Clearly, I'm just speculating. So maybe she's having her own little second bat mitzvah, coming to age, oh, I'm a woman again kind of thing. Or maybe she just really liked the dress and thought she looked good, period.
Check this out. Asked her the label, okay? And I wore these heels from Nordstrom Rack. They're the Abound brand, but I already put on socks. But this is kind of like sexy pilgrim.
Here we go. Another red dress. This one, for some bizarre reason, is called the Wendi dress. Even that somehow looks better. Again, no hate. This I just thought was pretty damn hilarious. And the next thing, I just had to let it play. So here's the picture. I covered his face up. There she is in the red dress. And again, you know, maybe it's totally modern and cool and hip, and she's a young hip mom. Again, anybody saying bad, nasty words, I will block those comments. But it is interesting choice.
I know that if Abba were here today, that he would be so very proud of you. Years have passed since Abba and I imagined what this day would be like for you and for us as a family. I know that if Abba were here today, that he would be so very proud of you. Years have passed.
Let's watch and listen one more time, and then listen to what Tamara Demko had to say.
Years have passed since Abba and I imagined what this day would be like for you. Years have passed since Abba and I imagined what this day would be like for you and for us as a family. I know that if Abba were here today, that he would be so very proud of you.
The legal battle was very ugly. She felt trapped. I started trying to not talk to both of them about the legal stuff because I felt kind of caught in the middle. And she thought there's no way they can force me to stay here, and he's like, there's no way, I'm not going to have access to my kids. She was getting a hefty sum of money from him. There were some things that he was, even last month, was upset about. She had his uncle's ring, something along those lines, that she had taken, and it was like a family heirloom that she wouldn't give back. And she had taken whatever she wanted out of the house at the time.
So he was out of town. Is that what I
Yes.
understood?
So he had to refurnish, and he's like, I spent $10,000 refurnishing this place, and it was a big adjustment, and he didn't know what he had done wrong. Having talked to Wendy, there was nothing he could do right. And she just didn't love him.
Okay.
And it was not something I could say to him. Over time, I've tried to get there, but she just didn't love him that way. And I think
Years have passed.
My opinion is every single thing about this is cringy. It's a cringe fest, and hated it.
I know that if Abba were here today, that he would be so very proud of you.
Hello. So it took forever for the video to process, and then I was like annoyed because there was a couple things I wanted to say, and I was like, you know what? The video will be overall so much better if it just has these couple of extra comments. So I can show I actually went ahead and cleared, let's see. I cleared the nail polish off of my nails, even though it had started getting real nasty. The lighting is weird, I'm sorry. And then I did this. Okay, so the two things that I wanted to add. One is that I noticed afterward the boy's outfit. He's got a red yarmulke. We used to call it also a kippah or a yarmulke, and a red tie. So, you know, gots to coordinate.
And stop with the mushroom shirt. You
I
gotta
would
go on.
I'd have stopped that.
No, you gotta keep going.
Okay.
Now let me show you something. Look at that.
Oh, you got on a mushroom belt. Gerard, did you know your pops had a mushroom belt on?
Yes. But you don't stop there, see?
No,
you gotta keep
can't.
going.
What you got, mushroom ring?
Yes, good idea. Look what I got.
Gerard, did you know on the inside was special mushrooms?
Yes!
So, some people think it's a meshment. You know, I'm sure it's totally normal. I'm sure that's what almost many parents like to do, you know, to coordinate. Again, to coordinate.
You know, like they do at prom.
I don't know, actually. I don't know if that's what all the parents do, coordinate with their son. But I did think that was, you know, just something I wanted to point out, that actually, not only did she wear a red dress, but so her son also was coordinated with the red. And another note I'll add about the dress, even though I've already made it abundantly clear that I don't have any tolerance for putting people down because they like tits out, because they like red, or for how they like to dress, because I personally believe in fashion freedom, and I'm not offended by people who have their tits out, or cleavage out, I should say. I'm not offended by people who wear other colors. I mean, there is something to say for having respect and reverence for the actual time and place of where you're showing up. And I would say wearing red is a flashy choice. And having that dress on actually reminds me of Jeff Lacasse pointing out that she had had a regular mom-looking type of profile pic on her Facebook for 2 years. But then the night before the murder, she suddenly changes to wearing a blue dress with her cleavage showing, and apparently the kids weren't looking, like, I guess whatever expression they were making wasn't the most flattering. And he said that his friends had pointed out to him, because he wasn't a parent and they were, that's kind of narcissistic because she looks good, but the kids are not, you know, like it's flattering to her. And he thought that it was striking to him that if she had previous knowledge that she was going to suddenly be splashed on all the news and stuff, that she'd rather be depicted with her cleavage out and her eyes photoshopped and her teeth photoshopped and maybe even the cleavage photoshopped by her dad. Like, that's super creepy and weird. You know, and an enhanced photo. And he said she's not that pretty, even though he did say he thought she was gorgeous and anybody would fall for her. So I think some people took that out of context. Like, he said she's not that pretty. What he meant was she's not that pretty as in the photo, her eyes aren't that blue. I don't know if they're blue at all, but her eyes aren't that blue and her teeth aren't that white, and her, you know. So one thing about the red dress I noticed is that it does look as if it might be pinned open in a certain way on purpose to make sure that the cleavage shows, because there's like this excessive fabric. You can't really see me because I'm down there, but my boobs are down there. But so there's like excessive fabric here. It looks like to me if she were to just tie it the way maybe it's meant to be, maybe it wouldn't be as cleavagey. So it does seem to me that she's making sure to enhance herself. And I don't know how old she is. She's like, wait, let me check. I think she's 37, so she's still quite young. I mean, I think that that's quite young. So, but again, I don't believe in being ageist. I don't believe in the concept of once you're a mother, you shouldn't ever look sexy or have cleavage or wear certain things. And I really, truly cringe when I see comments online shaming women for looking sexy and trying to use the fact that they have children as a reason why they're not allowed to be sexy. I do understand, of course, that that is a religious ceremony, and he's the star, not her. And her wearing a red dress, all cleavage out. Yes, that's what I was saying about the Jeffrey Lacasse talking about the photo. Instead of her just looking really pretty, like you can look so beautiful, you can look so classy, she chose to go tacky. Wendy, trendy Wendy woke up and chose tacky, gaudy. It's like, you know, it's an aesthetic. It's kind of giving, I don't know. Like I said, I'm not, you know, but I can say words like gaudy and tacky and kind of like, you know, someone who thrives on maybe negative attention, but who doesn't see it that way. Like somebody who is so accustomed to trying to get attention from her looks, and maybe, you know, I mean, again, I'm not going to be over here judging her looks. I'm not in any position. Nobody's in any position to judge anybody's looks. I don't care if you're the most beautiful person in the world, the most beautiful person in the universe, or the most unattractive person in the universe. Looks is subjective, and ultimately I personally believe that somebody's looks is truly a manifestation of their character, their personality, what they do, their behavior, how they show up. There are people who at one point seemed like, you know, the sexiest man alive, or the sexiest woman alive, and then I found out about their the way how they showed up, and they don't look attractive to me. I might be able to say objectively, you have nice features, but your rotten insides has destroyed it. You know, the off-gassing of poisonous, toxic, your personality has destroyed any beauty that was once beheld by the eye of the beholder. So those were the two thoughts that I really just wanted to add to the video, and hopefully it won't take many more hours now to process.
All right, is that you in the center?
That's me.
Which one's Catherine Magbanoa?
The one on the left, our left in the picture.
And how long had Ms. Magbanoa been dating your brother at the time this photo was taken?
I have no idea.
How many times had you met Ms. Magbanoa at the time this was taken?
I think once before.
Okay, how many times did you hang out with her total?
Just these 2 times. Once at the dinner when I met her, and then once at the beach for an hour.
Was the relationship between your brother and Catherine?
So this is what I'm very curious about. What did they actually talk about? What did she tell Katie about her ex? What did Katie tell Wendy about her baby daddy? Does she know at this point what Katie can offer her and the financial incentive, etc.? I'm curious. They only met twice? Well, I don't believe it, and I'm hopeful that Georgia Kappelman has some proof of much more connections between them.
Was the relationship between your brother and Catherine?
Now the photos I screenshotted, so sometimes people with light eyes look like they have dark eyes in shadow or bad photos, but I just wanted to kind of compare some photos. Some it's kind of obvious that the blue eyes are quite fake, like this one. It just doesn't look realistic to me. I mean, maybe it's just the sun in her eyes, but it does look altered. So some of these photos appear like it might really be dark eyes and she just has fake contacts, but it's hardly conclusive. And because of lighting and color and all that stuff, it's sometimes impossible to tell. But I did want to just zoom in. Again, not for judging, not for name calling or putting people's looks down. I'm really just analyzing like the mindset of somebody who maybe doesn't naturally have blue eyes, but seems to like to brag about their blue eyes. Maybe that's her, or maybe she really does have blue eyes that people compliment. So this is just research. It's not to insult people or their looks.
So I was actually so unhappy with the first batch of photos that I had screenshotted and zoomed in on, because they are really, really, really blurry, low quality, and completely inconclusive. I'm not going to say that this is conclusive, but I did search a little more and I thought, oh yeah, you know, what about the mom and dad? What about Donna? What about Harvey? What are their eye colors? What are the brothers' eye colors? So I did get to some family photo, and it does appear on, you know, kind of blurry and not like super great lighting. And it's really small. And, you know, sometimes when somebody with light eyes is far away and there's shadows and different lighting and coloring and all that stuff, light eyes may not appear light. So I think I've already mentioned that 3 or 4 times, but I'm going to look and I'm going to just comment on what I see. Okay, so I didn't spend too much time looking at the blue eyes, but I wanted to show a few. So those look extremely artificial blue. And then here's a very common photo to find of her, zooming in. It also looks artificial blue. Where's her irises? Where's the natural setting of real eyes? That does not look real to me. There's another photo. It looks like pretty good lighting. Let's see if I can zoom in. And she's definitely got light eyes there. And that could be blue contacts. She could have light eyes. Maybe she's got hazel eyes and she enhanced it. I don't know. Again, I'm not judging. I'm just researching out of curiosity. So there's the mom. The mom does seem to have brown eyes. Donna does appear to have brown eyes in that photo. I want to kind of look to the side, but not too much. Okay, so Donna does seem to have brown eyes in that photo. Then let's look for Harvey, Adelson. So let's see if we can find a clear enough photo. Oh, I see Charlie. I'm going to zoom in on Charlie. Looks like brown eyes there. He also looks like he could have been handsome once upon a time. Okay, so here's the photo of the family where they're young. And the poor Robert. So there she is. Those look like brown eyes to me. Like I said, they could maybe be like hazelish, or like mine eyes that are brown. There she is as a young girl. It looks like she's got brown eyes. And she also is not wearing glasses. Sometimes people don't get glasses till later in life. That's true. There, Donna looks like she's got brown eyes. And it does appear that they both have brown eyes. There's Harvey. So I have brown eyes and my baby's daddy has green eyes and I have a brown-eyed child. There's Charlie, he's brown-eyed.
And there's Robert, the one who's probably the only one with any sense and decency. And he also appears to have brown eyes. So they do appear to be a fully brown-eyed family. So my older son has brown eyes. He looks a lot like me. Well, that's what people say, which makes me thrilled because he's so beautiful. And my younger son is fairer, and he was born blonde, and he's got gray eyes. Sometimes they're green, sometimes they're blue. These are other photos that do appear that they have brown eyes. And, you know, you can have a blue-eyed child if you have brown eyes, but somebody in your family had the blue eyes. So that's that.
Here's the little thing that was like,
I don't have tolerance for that, so.
Miss Wendy Adelson,
This creator was interesting. I didn't like the bad words she was calling Wendy, so I took those out, but she found the pics
and I'm gonna see if I can drop it in right here, right there.
So a couple of other photos from the day. They were like pulled off the internet.
Did you see her?
I saw. Anne, May, Dan, and his kids and his loved ones find peace. This is a photo of Phil, Dan, Ruth, and the Markel boys. Okay, so you see the ridiculous time it is, yes. And I've turned off all the lights just about. Now you can't see me at all. Let's see. I just want to say one last thought. So, let me turn that down. So, my assessment is it is extremely appropriate and hot as hell to wear a red dress at a bar mitzvah or a bat mitzvah if you're like 13. If you're a 13-year-old girl, that is cool. I don't believe in judging people because they like to wear something sexy, show cleavage, or wear red. I absolutely do not believe in judging people's looks. And side note, if anybody makes a comment disparaging, I will delete it. Because this isn't about putting people down for their body or for having cleavage or whatever. My commentary about her blue eyes is not to shame people for wearing colored contacts, not to say like, oh, you know, wearing colored contact is somehow morally apprehensive. I just think it's like really cringy to talk about people commenting on your blue eyes when they're fake. But I don't know. This is not any real proof, to be honest. And sometimes light eyes look dark with certain shadow. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye. Oh, it's a cat. It's a cat with a cat. Mwah. And I saw tons of people commenting, calling her the WHOR, no word. I saw people saying how inappropriate and trashy and this and that, and calling her nasty names because she wore that dress, which it's, I mean, so what? She's got a little bit of cleavage. So what? It's red. Like, I genuinely have disdain for people who feel entitled to put other people down because of how they like to dress. And people saying she looks like a sex worker. I just find that to be outlandish because, I mean, you are being so harsh and judging. Is it the best choice? I mean, again, who's to judge? Like, it does kind of remind me of a dress that I had when I was like 6, except for it didn't have cleavage. It was just like that shiny red material. Although I think it was more purple than that red. But anyway, the point is, it's like
there's always harsh people who are haters who are going to judge because somebody looks hot or sexy. And yeah, I do say it seems to be more of a trend for younger kids. And again, I also hate when people say, like, dress your age, or you're a mom, you're not supposed to have boobs. Like, what? That's so absurd to me. So I believe Wendy is guilty. I believe she will spend the rest of her life in jail. I believe that she's evil. I believe she's a murderer and a conspirator, an unindicted conspirator, co-conspirator. But I don't believe that talking bad about her looks or the fact that she wore a dress and she has some cleavage, I don't believe that that's appropriate. So people who think that they have a right to say somebody is this or that or terrible or ugly or bad looking or, you know, a bad word because they don't like how they dress, I feel like that is unacceptable. There are other channels where they're allowing that to go on. I'm not going to allow that to go on because that's gross. It's gross to me to talk about people's bodies. It's gross to me to make fun of or to disparage people's looks. While it's true that somebody who could be objectively beautiful and or sexy, if they had a nice personality, can be objectively heinous, awful, or seeing them evokes awful feelings, which makes you feel that they're bad looking. That makes sense, but I personally feel that only low class, low intelligence feel that disparaging somebody because of their clothing choices or their body and or face is some type of sound argument or reasoning, or like, it doesn't make you look better. It doesn't make you look like a good person to be a judgmental ass. So anyway, that did really kind of annoy me because it's like, there are so many legitimate things and concerns to talk about what's wrong with this woman. But talking about the fact that she's got cleavage, she likes to wear red, is not it. And again, I talked about her blue eyes, not to talk bad about people who use contacts, but to just point out, like she talked about in a few places, getting compliments on her blue eyes. So that made me curious because I saw some photos. I was like, does she really have blue eyes? Or are they only blue for contacts? So that was like a curiosity thing, not for disparagement. Also, I think it's super important and relevant to talk about what people have done, but to not get petty and become just another negative person. And I believe a lot in what Emily D. Baker has a culture on her channel where she has no tolerance for certain things. And I also feel there's just certain types of comments, vibes, mindsets, mentalities, judgmental ways of looking at people that I don't have any tolerance for on my channel. So if you want to comment on her red dress because you think she looks S-word, slutty, or you want to call her the WH word or whatever, even to say that's so inappropriate. Well, who really freaking cares? Like, honestly, somebody wearing a red dress and showing a little bit of cleavage at their kid's bar mitzvah is so insignificant compared to hiring hitmen to kill their dad. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's focus on the things that matter. This woman deserves to be in jail because she's a criminal who hired, in my opinion, people and paid them to get her ex and the father of her children murdered. Let's focus on that. Let's focus on the fact that she drove by the crime scene. Let's focus on the fact that she claimed the reason she drove by the crime scene was because that was the only liquor store she could go to, only one she knew how to go to, only way she knew how to get there. And that was clearly a lie. Let's focus on the facts that people have shared, like Jeff Lacasse Tamara Demko. I don't know if it's Tamara or Tamara. Tamara? Let's focus on the facts that are there and get her ass in jail. Georgia Kappelman is not going to be talking about, why are you wearing a red dress showing your cleavage at your son's bar mitzvah? You know how inappropriate? If you Google, what should I wear at a bar mitzvah? It says that, don't be flashy. That's not a crime, people. You might not like it. You might see it as evidence of her poor judgment. You might see it as evidence of her, pay attention to me, I'm the star, I've got boobs, and I'm sexy. I'm too sexy for my red dress.
I'm too sexy for this bar mitzvah. I'm too sexy for this jail. Too sexy for this prison. Too sexy for this cell. Gaudy. Gaudy. Gaudy means something is showy, bright, and tacky. It can also mean ostentatious, flashy, or in your face, and not in a good way.
Gaudy.
Extravagantly bright or showy, typically so as to be tasteless. So I don't tolerate name calling, body shaming. However, there are words that describe things, and something can be gaudy, tasteless, and it can be intentionally to garner attention in a way that the average bear is going to think of as tacky.
Tacky.
Showing poor taste and quality. It means things that are tacky are cheap, flashy,
Kitsch.
garish, gaudy, loud, tawdry, or trashy. Tacky clothes are a fashion nightmare, and tacky comments are embarrassing for everyone involved.
Kitsch.
Garish.
Garish means crudely or tastelessly colorful, showy, or elaborate. It can also mean excessively ornate or elaborate. Garish can also mean offensively or distressingly bright. For example, you might describe neon signs as garish. Garish often has a negative connotation. Synonyms of garish include brassy, cheap, flashy, flash, gaudy, gimcrack, glitzy, loud, meretricious, tacky, tatty, tawdry, and trashy. So as much as I do not agree with people, calling women bad names because they like to show a little of their body, I do agree that there are words that can describe how someone is dressed without shaming them, but, being descriptive. And I definitely would say quite a lot of people expressed that they were offended at her distressingly bright, showy, tastelessly sexy choice of an outfit at an event that was to honor her son in a religious setting.
And obviously, what I see it as is like, I'm basically one of the most famous people right now. Everybody's got their eyes on me. Yeah, it's all negative, and they think I should go to jail because I'm a murderer, except for the ones who want to fuck me. But, it's cool. It's cool. And, mean girl vibes. And, You know, she's probably out here thinking, yeah, they just fucking hate me because they hate me. They hate me because they ain't me. I don't know. I just had a talk with my children about how important it is to not speculate on what other people think and feel, and how thinking you can read people's minds or you can know what they're thinking or feeling, you know, that's not admissible. But, you know, let's look at people's actions. Let's look at the receipts. Let's look at the motive. Let's look at who was the ultimate beneficiary. Let's dislike her because she did crimes and she's cruel and she's a liar and she's a bad person. And who cares if she's got her tits out? Hopefully, this is going to be one of the last times she gets to do that. And, you know, oh yeah, I thought to myself, if she actually has brown eyes, guess what? Once she gets arrested, we'll find out. We'll see it in her mugshot. I don't know if they take the contacts out for that, but we will find out, because I think, you know, you don't get to dye your hair. You don't get to do your nails. You don't get to wear your fake colored contacts. So if she's got real blue eyes, we'll find out on the mugshot. Or maybe you do get to wear your colored contacts. I don't know. To be honest, I have absolutely no idea if that's true or not, because I don't know if you're allowed to have contacts in jail. If you need glasses, are you allowed contacts if you want contacts? And if you already have a prescription and you're allowed to have contacts and, you know, you're paying for them, the colored contacts, are you allowed to have that in jail? I don't know. I heard a couple people saying that, or maybe it was just Carl Steinbeck saying, Donna will never get to speak to Wendy or Charlie again. I wonder, does anybody know, like, once Donna gets convicted, because she will, are inmates allowed to have phone calls with each other? I asked that question on his live, but he didn't get to it, which was fine, because he was on there for like 2 hours answering questions. And he did answer a couple of my questions. That was tonight, which is, well, that was last night, which is January 14th. But yeah, like, are inmates in different prisons allowed to make phone calls to each other? I don't know. Like, what if somebody else is paying? I don't know. I'm curious about that. Okay, goodbye. For real. Till next time. Wendy Adelson Arrest Watch. I'm still watching. See you. Bye. Well, I just wanted to finish out the video by reading this Google search. Is it worth fixing a cracked TV screen? Since screens are typically the most expensive TV part, your repair person might recommend that you replace the entire TV rather than repair it. Quote, although TV repairs are possible, most repairs cost the same or more than a replacement TV, says Andy Kilborn, expert review member and handy person. Oh, so I'm getting exhausted, as I should. It's 4 a.m. And me and Andy Kilborn, Andy Kilborn and I, who am not an expert reviewer member nor a handy person, but I agree with Andy Kilborn. I don't know. And I agree with also the Geek Squad guy, and I agree with Jeffrey Lacasse's assessment, who was first eye witness. I think it was obvious that that screen wasn't repairable. Okay. It was going to snow for about 11 minutes.
Jeff Lacasse Tamara Demko. Thank you for your integrity, your honesty, and your willingness to share what you know, despite both of you having conflicting feelings at the time of your interviews, and you both felt like you were friends and or in love with this woman, and you didn't want to. Blue eyes. Red dress. Wendy. Arrest watch. Thoughts. And cues. Thoughts and questions. I hope you found this helpful and entertaining and also thought-provoking. Blue eyes, red dress. This girl is a mess. You are a mess, Wendy. And I don't know what they're going to give you to wear once you go to prison, but I do believe the time is ticking. Your days are numbered. You know, I did think maybe they do want to give her all the leeway so that she can formulate a plan to flee. And they'll nab her. I'm sure they've got her phones bugged. I'm sure they have eyes and ears on this girl, on this woman, on this evil person. It does make me sick that she's still raising her children. But, you know, we'll see.